We have entered a new era of computer science where anybody with the right mindset can become a programmer. The reason, AI. You can have your own personal teacher stand right next to you 24/7 and help you whenever you are stuck, if you have the basics to start using it. In this video, I'm going to show you those basics. So when I finish, we will be able to do something like this, where I can enter my height, my weight, and not only will it tell me that I am overweight, which is sadly true, but it will also give me the target weight that I need to be. Let me show you how I did that. Not everybody is a programmer. We know that for a fact. Some people are just not cut the way that it requires to be a programmer, and that's perfectly fine. But many people just don't have the opportunity to learn it because of whatever events in their lives or the circumstances, whatever. So in this video, what we are going to figure out is whether you are made to be a programmer or not. We are going to use very basic programming only, and if you kind of feel it click, then you know for sure that you are made to be one. If you feel like, this is not for me, I just lost all the trace, then that's fine. You know that you're not made to be a programmer, which is, again, perfectly fine. The hard part of learning programming is oftentimes you get stuck. You want to do something and you don't know how to proceed. The way to resolve that would be to have a teacher standing next to you, looking over your shoulder, and whenever you're stuck, he says, oh, that's the thing you need to do there. Oh, there is a function for that. Wait, let me show. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? The thing is, right now, you can have that, and also you can have it for free, or you can have it for a really small amount of money. Of course, small amount is relative, depends on what is small for you. I'm talking about $20 a month. And of course, I'm talking about AI. Very obviously, you have read the title of this video, so you know that we are going to do Python basics with AI. But before we actually get to that, let me introduce you the absolute basic concept of programming, okay? Because at the core of their heart, every piece of software ever written is an accounting software. Let me show you what I mean by that, okay? And I have my ID here, but we are not actually going to use that first. I'm going to use Google Drive to be very specific. I'm just going to use Google Sheets, okay? Once I'm allowed to use that, of course. Okay. Here's an empty sheet, and let me create some data in it, but I'm not going to show you what the data is. Let's take a look at this spreadsheet where I have prepared some numbers for us to use. And let me just take a look at what's in the... Sadly, this is absolutely meaningless for us. We have no idea what it means, right? And let me take a look at the formula. Maybe that will help. It doesn't really help too much. We are adding numbers and cells together and then squaring and dividing and whatever. We don't have the slightest idea of what's going on, even though it works perfectly, but we don't understand it. Let me show you what the original table looked like. We have names in the rows and values of height and weight over in the columns. Now we understand that with the height being over 150 centimeters and the weight over 50 kilos, this is a body mass index calculation. That's the big problem that we have with doing everything in spreadsheets. Spreadsheets have these cells where you have values, but when you are using them in formulas, you don't really know what that cell actually means. It's trying to help you with all these nice, shiny, colorful marks on the cells that you are using, but still, if you don't exactly know what the cell does, you are royally screwed and you can't really get together. So, the solution to this problem is actually using variables. And variables behave exactly the same way as these cells do in your spreadsheet, only they have a name, okay? Let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna do height 150, There you go. I will just talk about it in a second what happened here, but we really have this lovely and very readable situation here. I did the same thing, put my height into a variable, put my weight, which is a little bit too high, but never mind, use the formula, and then printed the result of that value. Printing, obviously, just prints it out. We have a problem with the, yeah, it's actually, it should be divided by 100. Never mind. Yeah, okay, this will be fine now. Yeah, it gives a much better value. As you can see, I'm slightly overweight, which is sad but true. So the thing is, when you are beginning to learn programming, you should always keep this in mind. All you are doing is putting values into cells in a spreadsheet and then doing simple formulas with those. Except this time you don't have like this infinite number of faceless and nameless sheets or cells. You have named cells. That we call them variables. That's the most important concept of programming, okay? If you can keep this in mind, that variables are named spreadsheet cells, you are 50% done with programming, okay? And then, of course, you can put formulas into them just like you would in any spreadsheet cell, and that's the only weird thing here that I will explain. A function is essentially like your good old vending machine. In the vending machine, you throw the money in on the top, and whatever you're buying comes out in the bottom, whether it's a can of soda or a sandwich, whatever you're buying from the vending machine. Functions work exactly the same way. You throw something in at the top, and something else falls out in the bottom, right? Also, they can have side effects. And in this case, this print function, which is very easy to guess what it does, this prints stuff to the console, to the output. This one here is actually a function that doesn't throw out anything. It just has the side effect of your text appearing on your console, okay? So this is, in that case, this is a little bit special. Let me show you how we can create these functions. And while I do know that in spreadsheets it's possible to create functions, not very common and counts like an advanced part. Here in programming, we are creating functions all the time. That's pretty much the only thing we do is create new functions. So I'm going to go ahead and create the calculate BMI function, which is exactly this, all right. And now I don't have to use anything else than this calculate BMI function to have the exact same result, obviously. And what I see here is that in my rounded brackets, I am throwing in the height and the weight, two variables that I have created here. And what falls out is actually my BMI index, my body mass index, that I store in a variable named BMI. And then I can do whatever I want with that BMI, okay? Let me show you some things that I can do with it. The simplest thing I can do is check if I'm overweight or not. And I will do that with the if keyword, which is really, really simple. And sadly, in my case, we just need to check the bigger than 25 case. It's fine. It's relatively simple. So what I have here is a statement. It's a conditional statement. If BMI is greater than 25, and then I have a semicolon, which is very important. It shows the end of my condition. And then in the next line, I have these 4 empty spaces. These are the most important part of Python programming. Everything I said about the variables and the functions is true for all programming languages. However, the indentation and the importance of that is only true for Python. When I had this condition here, I need to let Python know which part of the rest of the lines belongs to that condition, right? Let me remove everything else. We don't need it right now. And this is how I can do that by increasing my indentation. A typical value is 4, as you can see it here. You can use 3 or even 2. Your code will be a bit more condensed, but whatever. That's the way you actually do it. Let me just run this real simple code right now, which will tell me that I am overweight, obviously. Note something else. Now we are not printing a variable, we are printing a constant string that is not variable at all. And therefore, we had to put it in quotation marks, okay? I know some people hate air quotes, I don't know why, but you get the idea. I'm putting these in quotation marks to let Python know that this is exactly to be copied, okay? I'm not gonna change this. This doesn't depend on anything. That's exactly the way you have to take it. It's called a string literal because you have to take it literally if you like it that way. Cool. Yeah. And now when I'm ending the block, I could do something else here. Print you should lose weight. Yeah, that's very true. And there are two more keywords that belong to the if family of keywords. One is else, that you can see here. And that, of course, contains the same way indentation and then arbitrary number of instructions. Here we have 2, we could have 20 or 2 million, doesn't matter. It will only be executed if we go into that branch. By the way, let me just see for fun how much my weight should be. For 70, I'm pretty sure that's already a bit low. Okay, that's definitely in the good range. Never gonna happen, guys. I'm sorry. I'm never gonna make it. 85 would be amazing for me, but yeah, that's life. Okay, cool. And there is a third keyword, which is the else if. This is actually else if, but for some reason, people decided to not have it in 2 words, not even as else if, because that sounds kind of stupidish, so they just abbreviate it as elif. Okay, we just take it for what it is. Elif means elif. Okay, else if. Amazing. And again, the same thing happens, indentation and then arbitrary number of instructions. Okay, that's how a typical program looks like. We create variables, we define functions, we call those functions, and then we have different statements that, of course, can be within the instructions as well. Let me make this program a little bit more complicated, just so you get the hang of the whole thing. Def get BMI status. Yeah, here we go. The get BMI status function receives the BMI as a number and does all this evaluation. And like I said, a function is like a vending machine. You throw in the machine, you throw in the coins, something falls out in the bottom. And what falls out in the bottom is defined by another keyword, which is return, okay? The return keyword, whatever is after the return keyword, is what fell out of the vending machine, right? And so what I can do now, what I can do now is exactly this. I can call this function to get the BMI status into a different variable, which is called BMI status, and then print that variable, okay? So what I did was I took my code that was just dangling in the middle of nothing and put it into a nice function. The process of taking code from one place and putting it to a better place, this is called refactoring, but we will get that in a much, much later video, okay? Obviously, it has literally zero effect on the outcome because still we are just printing one thing. And also note that here I cannot return for now. Later on I will be able to return multiple strings. For now I can only return one, but it's fine for now, okay? Brilliant. So now you know what a variable is, what a function is, how the function returns something, and how you're calling those functions. We are headed to an amazing place at a real fast pace, so bear with me. But in the beginning of this video, I promised that I will show you how you can have your own personal teacher, an AI, look over your shoulder and help you whenever you are stuck. And the means to do that is by Cursor. This video is not sponsored at all. I wish, but it's not. So in order to use this, all you need to do is go to cursor.com. There are many other products that are very similar. I am not saying this is the only one. I'm not even saying this is the best one because I don't know the other ones as well. I know for sure that I'm using Cursor for months now on a daily basis, and it works perfectly fine for me. So you can go ahead, give it a shot. It's not free either. There is a free trial where you have a lot of completions and premium requests. I am paying for it $20 a month. And again, this video is not sponsored. So this is my true and honest opinion on Cursor. And the way Cursor works is you get two different kinds of help. The first kind of help is when you are typing your code, then you get this auto-completion feature, which means whenever you start typing something, the AI tries to guess what you are doing and tries to type the code instead of you. And as you saw, in simpler cases, it works brilliantly and amazingly, figures exactly out what I want and just writes the code for me, very convenient. However, there's an even better feature that it has. If you press Ctrl I on your keyboard and make my face, maybe I will not make my face be gone, okay. Here you have this instruction panel basically, where you can add files to it, add your own source code. Like this time I'm gonna add pythonbasics.py, that's what we're working with. You can add multiple ones if you need to. And then you can make a wish here. It's pretty much like the genie, okay? You can just go ahead and say, I want a function that gets my current weight and height and returns the weight I should be to have a BMI of 30. I'm happy with 30, okay? And boom, that's the wish that I made to the genie. And then it says, I am thinking right now. And what it does is it actually adds that function to your code, and it actually explains. There are a whole lot of comments happening in your code, and you can also ask it to explain. So it works really, really nice, okay? And now I can take a look, and I would rather say I must take a look if it looks okay to me or not. Clearly, when you are just beginning programming, oftentimes you have no idea if it's correct or not. But let me be very honest with you, even though I am working as a professional software developer for over 30 years now, there are some cases when I'm like, well, it looks roughly okay. I'm not sure if it's the perfect way, but let's try. And then I just try it out. That's perfectly fine. That's absolutely fine. So yeah, this time I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna accept the file, because I already saw that it looks pretty okay. And then I do the, it already also included the invocation of the function. To me, wow, that is amazing. So let me see, let me put my face back. Let me make this composer window gone and let me run this. Oh, my target weight would be actually slightly under 92 kilograms. That's not a whole lot to lose, guys. I can do that. I can absolutely do that. And then, wow, I would be amazingly good. Okay, there is one more thing that we need to learn though in order to understand this code, which is, look what happened here. We are passing this parameter with the name of target BMI. Again, this is a function, so we are throwing in coins in the top and something falls out of the bottom. One of the things we are throwing in is the target BMI. However, it got a value as if it was a variable, but it's not. It's a parameter of the function. And look what we are doing when we're invoking this function. We are actually only passing the height. It's very easy to guess that this is the default value of the parameter. So what it says is, if you want to have a target BMI, then you can specify it when you are invoking the function. But if you don't have a specific target BMI in mind, that's fine. We will just use 30 instead of it. This is the default value of a parameter. Super useful function. Just note one thing. If you have multiple parameters, you have to have the ones without default value first, and then you can have the ones with default value. Very easy to understand why. If I would put something here that does not have a default value, and I would say 125 here, how would the system know if I mean 125 for the target BMI or for the something, right? It's very understandable. So all the parameters that don't have default value come first, and the ones that do come afterwards. Brilliant. Okay, so we have again learned something new. And let me tell you this. I know people who do amazing things without understanding all the details and intricacies of the source code. So do not be afraid to experiment. Just tell your wish to the genie, let it do its magic, and then it will generate some source code for you. And more often than not, the source code will work and it will do exactly what you wanted it to do. So be brave, be experimental, and try your luck. You will not regret it. So now we have the ability to write functions, to invoke functions, even to pass default parameters. That's all nice and good. But I have one big issue here, which is our program is not very useful because everything is just written here. There is no dynamism in it. We cannot really make the user influence the outcome of the program. Yeah, that's not very nice. So I'm going to remove these values here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a new function that is very easy to guess what it does. It's called input. Okay, so the height is now going to be input. Enter your height in centimeters, and the weight is, you see, let me do it again because it's important. See what happened. I have typed the height and I have typed input. And immediately the text appeared. That was the AI helping me. And it was in gray, okay? It was grayed out. And now I have the weight because the AI automatically guesses that if I had the height as an input, I will probably want to do the same with the weight, and the AI is absolutely right. But it's still just gray, okay? It's not there yet, it's just a suggestion. In order to accept that suggestion, I need to push the tab key on my keyboard. And ta-da, now it's colorful, it's nice. Everything is just there, okay? So whenever you have a grayed out text that you want to accept, you have to push the tab button to accept it. Similarly, when we were using the composer, we had to accept the changes, but there we had this explicit accept button. Here we are absolutely going to need to do the keyboard-based acceptance. There is no window this time. Sadly, though, there is one more thing that we need to talk about. Szia, Sanyi? The one more thing that we need to talk about is variable types. Let me go back to my spreadsheet for just a second, okay? This number here is a number that is of that there is no doubt, but in formatting, pardon the Hungarian one, I have a whole lot of options that I can have, right? I can have just a number, a percentage, scientific notation, money, financial, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. All the formats that are there. And we know that this is a number because within the cell, it is aligned to the right. So if I were just to say something, it would be aligned left. That's how we know it's a text and not a number. But if I put a number, that gets aligned to the right, okay? That is because all these values in these cells have a type, which can be a string, that is just text, and number. The exact same principle applies here in our code. And when you are using the input function, that will actually give you a string. Let me show you in another example how that is, what that means, okay? I will just say hello basic.py. It will be the simplest software you can even write. Name equals input, enter your name, and then print hello name. We will discuss how this print works. It's a little bit tricky. Just accept it for a fact now, okay? And if I run it, it will ask me my name. My name is Aaron, and then it will say hello Aaron. Brilliant. A round of applause for Python for doing that, okay? But this means that this is a string. And the problem with strings is that they are not exactly behaving when you add them together. Let me say enter your first name, okay? And then I will call this first name. And then I will have last name. Immediately the AI picked up what I'm trying to do. All I needed to do was press tab to accept it. And here you can see as well that it has picked up on my intentions of using both the first name and the last name. Let me show you what that does, okay? My first name then will be Aaron, my last name will be Bitwise for the purpose and intent of this video, and then it says hello Aaron Bitwise. Brilliant. Okay, now watch what happens if I say full name. Obviously, it just says first name plus last name, right? Brilliant. it will work as we would imagine it works, okay? I will say Aaron and then bitwise and ta-da, hello Aaron, bitwise works perfectly fine. However, watch what happens if I say my first name is 10 and my last name is 20. What do you expect? Pause the video now, tell me what you expect. Do you expect 30 to be the answer? You would be wrong. It does the exact same thing, it just concatenates these strings after each other, because by the very definition, the plus sign for strings means concatenation. So if here I would go ahead and say multiply the weight by itself, that would mean multiply the word Aaron by itself. Doesn't make any sense, you don't multiply words, right? So this wouldn't work. We need a little bit of black magic. And the black magic we need to do is call another function, a very simple function that receives a piece of text, a string, as input, and drops out the same thing as a number in the bottom, right? And that is called integer, or int for short. And obviously the AI immediately picked up that I need to call the same thing for weight as well, okay? So now these are actual numbers, and now I can do mathematical operations with them. Note that these are not only numbers, but these are integer numbers, meaning they cannot be fractions. They cannot be, I cannot say my height is 175.5 or my weight is 98.5 because those are not integers. Those will yield an error. Let me show you. Let me show you first that it actually works. 175, 98 kilos, and ta-da, I am overweight, and my ideal weight should be 91.9. That's perfect. Watch what happens if I try to make, I say 175.5. Something happened, something crashed and broke. This is called an exception. An exception means that the code that normally works fine is in an exceptional state. Now it doesn't work fine. And I have a description, a type of an exception, which is value error, and I have a description of this which says this literal, meaning string, cannot be an integer number in base 10. That's an extra addition because there are integers in many other bases. We're not gonna get into that right now, but the point is this is not a valid integer. And of course, no number with a fraction part can be a valid integer, needless to say. That's an exception, and you are going to see a whole lot of exceptions if you get into programming. Some of them are really nice and understandable and easy to fix. Some of them not so much. That's one of the big pains in software development, when you get an error message that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It happens. It absolutely happens. Yeah, so we have learned two new functions, the input function and the int function. With this, you can do amazing things. And let me give you a little bit of homework, just so you get to practice your skills a little bit. There is a game called Name, which is a really simple one. You get a pile of matchsticks. You can input it as the first question in your program. How many matchsticks do you want to play with? And then there are two players, both taking turns. Each player can take any number of matchsticks between 1 and 3, okay? So they can take 1, 2, or 3. And the one to take the last matchstick from the table loses. So that's the code you need to write. With this tool set, with the functions, the variables, the mathematical operations, input, int, print, this is perfectly attainable and not even particularly hard, okay? Try to do this, see what happens. If ever you get stuck, don't forget that if you're using AI-based solutions, you have a teacher standing right next to you, looking over your shoulder, and you can ask for help anytime. Let me show you one more trick that just came into my mind. I forgot I wanted to show you that. What happens if I, let me just go ahead and start writing a function, weird function on A and B, okay? And now I am stuck. I don't want to use, for whatever reason, I don't want to use my Genie and have an entire function generated for me. I just want to use the next step. I am a little bit stuck and I don't know how, for example, how to raise something to a power. And now I'm going to go write a hash mark. Hash mark means comment. So anything that happens after a hash mark in Python doesn't count. It's not there for the interpreter. It's just for us humans, so we know what's happening, and the AI, okay? So I need to raise a to the power of b, okay? And immediately the code is completed to contain the proper function, which is the double asterisk. That's how you do power in Python, actually, okay? So if you are stuck, do not worry, there is the teacher looking over your shoulder. If you just make a comment that, oh, I need this, or I'm not sure how to do that, it will immediately be there to help you and show you the proper solution. This is a neat trick that you can use anytime, okay? Awesome. If you have actually written the code that plays nim, and again, don't think of anything big or complicated. It's a really simple thing. You just subtract the number of picks from the pile and whoever picks the last one. So after the pick, if there is none left, you just print you lose. That's all you need to do. Really not complicated. If you're done, I am very happy to see your code in a comment below on YouTube. I promise that as long as we don't have 10,000 comments there, I'm going to have a look at every one of them and just make a comment, or if nothing else, give you a heart for the effort or for the successful completion, okay? Great. Good luck. Good luck. Fingers crossed for you. And if you have any questions, I'm also here on YouTube. Just leave me a comment and I will be glad to help you out. So thank you for being here with me. I will see you in the next one. Bye.